Okay, so at this time, I will call on Graham Fraser and Rob Meyer, who have an open delegation regarding a new sports event in Barrie for 2013. Mr. Fraser, Mr. Meyer, welcome to Barrie City Council, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for having us. Rob's here too. I will keep this under 10 minutes if I can. Usually, I've done over 300 speeches in my life, and these guys left before I spoke. It was amazing. But anyway, what we're here for is to present to you an idea for the Barrie waterfront with a sporting event. I moved to this area a year ago, and I've been running and cycling, and I'm kind of amazed. I've traveled all around the world putting on events, which I'll get to in a minute, and you can just see the incredible opportunities here. And Simon Whitfield, the Canadian flag bearer, is a good friend of mine, and Simon came into town, and we were showing him the waterfront, and he was impressed. Mayor met Simon. We came up and did an idea presentation, which has created this whole, we've handed a handout to you, can read later, but the concept is to create a sporting event that brings a lot of the events that are in the community already under one umbrella, adding some new events in the endurance capacity. We're calling it the egames. You've probably seen the X Games on ESPN in the States. The endurance games, which again we'll call the egames for now, will have cycling events, triathlon events, waterfront events like dragon boating, stand-up paddling, sort of the new edge sports. The half marathon that Patrick Brown, we met Patrick and his crew, the 5K, 10K would come under the umbrella. We'd use Horseshoe Valley, Hardwood Hills for different events. So it's really taking all the facilities you have in this area and showcasing to a major games. Our background, just so you know who we are, I've been at this 28 years. I put on, I don't know if you're familiar with triathlons, but the Subaru Triathlon Series, the Aurelia Triathlon. I started the Aurelia Triathlon in 1987, then grew a series in Ontario that's still going. It's in its 28th year. It's one of the biggest triathlon series in the world. Then I got involved with Ironman, the Ironman triathlons, the Penticton one, British Columbia. We did that for 18 years, started all the Ironmans in the United States. So we produced over 300 different multiple sporting events. The Ironman events were big productions. We had 4,000 volunteers, anywhere from 25 to 100,000 spectators, national television with all the networks, all the sponsors, those type of things. That's the kind of event we want to produce here. We want to make a national event. We have a lot of connections in the industry that will get involved with this, a lot of the sponsors we have. I've hosted a TV series on TSN for the last 18 years and produced the shows. We worked with Sportsnet. Those are the partners that we'd bring into this event. So really what it comes down to is a showcase event for this waterfront, for this community, for Simcoe County, with a lot of participation. I'm not going to make up numbers, but somewhere between 15,000 and 20,000 participant athletes would be the ones doing this over a 3-day sporting event. The other programs we want to launch with this is a program that would get the community and actually influence Canada into a sort of a fitness movement. As you all know, obesity is on the rise. The kids are out of shape. It's much harder for kids to get out and play, as we all did as kids. They're locked on their computers and video games. These games, really the motive for me personally at this stage of my life is to create a movement, to get people moving, fitness, and use Barrie as one of the host events to lead that across Canada. And how we want to do that is we want to bring the Olympians into this. Simon is a very active guy with the kids across Canada. I'm sure you've seen him in all the media, the things he does. He's got a lot of Olympic friends. Adam Van Couverden, who was 2 days ago named Canadian Athlete of the Year, will be our water sport Olympian. Clara Hughes, there's some major runners, Reed Coolsat, people like that. So every event we have will have an Olympian who will be the host of that event. And they will bring in the other Olympians to race in an event that will showcase the downtown in a really fun format. I'll give you just quick examples. The triathlon will not be an Ironman. It won't be one of these long enduring events. It's going to be a swim, bike, run, swim, bike, run. They won't leave downtown. It'll be a criterium format where they're constantly going around. What we'd like to do is have kids go out on that course in a kids event first, a corporate relay, then a celebrity wave, and then we bring the pros in, and everyone's downtown watching the exciting event. So every event will have one of those exciting sporting events. The running race would have 50 top runners from Canada competing on that same course, basically a kilometer course through the downtown, and every 2 laps, 5 runners are dropped. leading to the final 5 at the end. So it's kind of got a fun part to watch. Running's I'm a runner. I know it's boring to watch. But when you add a format, like a sort of like an X Games where it's downtown, you just visualize the crowds and the excitement with every 2 laps they're sprinting to see who gets dropped. The bike race will be the same format for the pros. We're bringing top cyclists, clean cyclists that will, that will do a criterium format, elimination format, various heats, eliminating down to a championship. And you can see the theme of the whole thing, that it's, we want to make it spectator friendly, entertaining, but because we're doing those events, it'll drive participants. We want everyone in Barrie to come down here and do something. We want to have community walk. We want to have the 5Ks, kids races. We want to work with school programs. Simon has said he'll take the Olympians into the school programs to talk to them, to motivate them to come down and do different events. And the benefit of this in the long run is that you become a healthier community. We'll get more people moving. And I truly believe you have to lead people. And this generation needs to see what they can do. And then we will leave legacy programs, things that will go into the schools and into the future. Rob's here because, I came to town and I saw his Barrie Cycling Club, and right away went to Rob and said, how do we get kids on bikes? And we sponsored his junior cycling team. We also organized the Centurion Cycling events, which was up in Collingwood a month ago. We had 4,000 riders in our 3rd year. So that's the kind of mass participation we do. The Centurion we're not taking the Collingwood one, that one's going to stay, but we did one at Horseshoe Valley. We can do that in downtown Barrie and have 3,000 cyclists leave here on Sunday morning, head out into the beautiful cycling of Oromodanti through Simcoe County and finish down here. So anyway, to me, it's an opportunity, I think, for this community to showcase what you have. And I think there's a lot of leadership that I know personally from my one advantage of being old is you know a lot of people. I know the whole endurance market. I know the media market. And everybody I've talked to is thrilled about this. I talked to John Stanton from the running room this morning. He owns the running room, started the running room, owns the whole chain. We talked for 45 minutes, and he just said, we're taking this national, every store, contests in his stores, people from all across Canada. He got it, because he's a guy who motivates people to move, and John will be one of our partners. So I'm not going to go to every partner. I've dealt with Subaru Canada for 18 years. They've sponsored all my events, Gatorade, Timex, Power Bar, all the leaders in this industry. So we've got the relationships to pull this off. Anyway, that is kind of a quick overview. I need an hour to tell you what I'm really doing, but I had 10 minutes. So, Mayor, open the floor up to any questions.
All right, Graham, thank you very much for this. And just to sum up in terms of what you're proposing to do, when you came to meet me a couple of weeks ago, Simon Whitfield was with you, and Adam Van Couverden, I think, was already signed up. Now you've got Clara Hughes on board. They're all willing to be champions for these events as part of this. And
many more.
That's tremendous.
Yeah.
So what you had said to me was you were interested in likely the weekend before the Canada Day long weekend, so the last weekend in June.
Yes.
And for the benefit of members of council, what Graham and Rob are talking about would be hosting this series of events that you see in this preliminary schedule on the last weekend in June, the weekend before the long weekend in and around the Barrie waterfront. That's
yes.
That's the proposal. Okay. Questions from members of council? Councillor Broussard.
Thank you, Mayor Lehman, and thank you for your presentation. One question: what's the ask?
The ask.
We get a lot of people that stand up there.
Oh yeah, no,
and make presentations, but
sure.
there's always something that they need.
Yeah,
from the city.
number one, our ask is to accept our inconvenience, because anytime you come with a program like this, again, I put on over 300 events in communities all over North America, and I know what comes next. It's like, wow, road closures, parking issues, those type of things. So we'd like to work with staff in the city on saying, here's what we need on this front to make this work. Because if we're going to do this, we want it to be world class, and we don't want it to be buried somewhere. It has to be at the forefront, and people have to understand what it's going to be, and then the benefits that come from that. Second, we ask, and this is not from this group, but we have to get the city engaged for volunteerism. We'll probably need about 1,000 volunteers for this event. Ironmans, we had 4,000 volunteers. We know how to get volunteers. It's programs, it's donations back, it's how you raise money and how you contribute. So we need that. We also need support from the city. We're not asking for financial from the city, if you're asking that, but we're asking for whatever services you may be able to provide. with policing assistance, some security, whatever supplies we may need that you may have. If you don't have them, we'll find them elsewhere. And then any support with other levels of government that we're going to talk to. Letters to, there's, as I'm learning, as I move back to Canada, there's a lot of different ways to raise funds from grants and things like that. So we'll need support from the city on that. But the main thing we're looking for is the hosting opportunity to say, yes, we want this. The downtown merchants will have to be involved, people like that. So that's our ask. We're not coming in here asking for big financial contributions.
Okay, so my next question, Mayor Lehman, through you to Mr. Williams. Would you require a motion of council to do this, Mr. Williams, or is this something that the Culture Department or Recreation Department could look at as just taking on their own?
Right. Through you, Mr. Mayor, I believe that due to the magnitude of the event and following sort of council's lead in terms of what it's been permitting on the waterfront. I remember the in-water boat show and those kinds of activities that council didn't necessarily support at the time, which is why, if you notice, the concert that was held last summer we brought to council. So our method, if you like, has been to really allow council an opportunity to review these events. We would do that first in terms of taking care of all the due diligence, etc., making sure that, in terms of the actual practicality, it can work. And then we would bring it to council for council's approval.
So are there any other conflicts with any other events on that particular weekend?
I am absolutely sure there would be. However,
I see Councilor Ward's.
I can answer that one, Mr. Williams, only
yes.
because I asked Aaron Donnelly, our events coordinator in the department. There's two things on. There's Paddle Fest, which was new last year, and I believe started by if I'm not mistaken, the Canoe and Kayak Club. That's a natural to fit in with this because this is an open water canoe. There's a canoe and kayak. I mean, Adam Van Couverton, obviously being involved, is probably Canada's most famous open water athlete in that discipline. So that one kind of fits, and there has been no discussion yet with the organizers of Paddle Fest, as I understand it, about integration with this, but it strikes me as a natural. And then I believe there is also pardon me? Yeah, Kids Fishing Day for Rotary. So one of the questions would be the portion around Heritage Park and or whether that would fit with this event and the timing and so forth. But that weekend, other than that, is actually relatively free, which is pretty good, given how busy our waterfront is.
If I can
Mr. Williams?
perhaps add something I think that is significant as well, and that is even in the marketing plan for culture, there is the concept, if you like, of really finding signature events. So I would suggest that it may be something that we can explore in that area of having a signature event that might draw in some of the already existing events and so on, and find ways to package it.
Thanks. For example, I think, Mr. Fraser, you've spoken with MP Brown about his half marathon or his run being part of this event next year rather than a separate event?
Yeah, and we had dinner tonight with his event director, and that's well on its way.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Jackson.
Thank you, Mayor Lehman. Question's been answered.
All right. Other questions, members of council? Councillor Shipley.
I guess, sorry, just one quick one then. Would this become or possibly become a yearly event?
Yeah, oh yes, definitely. Yeah, it's a lot of work to get it going, so we'd look at
And always here in Barrie, or is it something that moves around?
No, we'd like to maintain it in Barrie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I live here now. I don't want to travel anymore.
Seeing no other questions, members of council, just a couple of quick ones from me, Mr. Fraser. You mentioned 15,000 or so participants. We have, I believe, in the order of 2,500 hotel rooms in the city of Barrie, so this would obviously be something with regional economic impact.
Yes.
We would likely be seeing the hotels in Horseshoe Valley and Orillia and Innisfil be full, as well as our own. Is this the kind of thing that's big enough to attract a TV? You mentioned you've hosted a show on TSN, I believe.
We've ran a series for 18 years.
Okay. Has there been any discussion about whether or not this would be a televised event?
No, this will absolutely be televised, and multiple shows. So we'd have a lot of exposure nationally, not regional television, but national television.
Okay.
I can't
So-
disclose which network right now, but
Fair enough.
we've always put our events on television.
So, and the reason I ask that is maybe leading to the next question, which is you're not seeking financial support from the city, which is wonderful because that's awfully rare around here. Is the event funded through sponsorships then and the TV arrangements?
Sponsorship, entry fees. We will be looking at some government grants and merchandising. And there's other, expos, VIP, corporate hospitality, all those things. So.
Excellent. And I see Ed Burke's here from the Look Company, Ed and Bailey from the Look Company of Barrie Company that do work for major sporting events. I know you guys have connected.
Yes.
Has there been some discussion around what the lasting benefit of this kind of an event would be or what might continue on afterwards?
Yeah, and Ed can answer some of the things that he proposed for the city for infrastructure to make this event look. If you figure the Pan Am Games are coming to Toronto, you've seen Olympics. We want this venue to look special when people roll in. So we've talked. I was at Ed's office twice, and we've been talking about the infrastructure, which some would be permanent. Obviously things on the ground to be temporary, but we have to come up with that whole plan on what the city would like, what makes sense. And again, if we do the event year after year, it makes sense to look at infrastructure that may be there, permanent and can be used by other events throughout the year, and aesthetically looks and works for you.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other questions, members of council? Councillor Ainsworth.
Excuse me, thank you, Your Worship, through yourself. Thank you for your presentation. When you said you were going to charge admissions, you just meant to enter the race. You didn't mean to watch.
No, not spectators, just for participants.
Well, thanks very much, gentlemen. A very exciting and an ambitious plan for a potentially signature event. It was a delight to meet Mr. Whitfield, the flag bearer, and I think bringing those folks to Barrie, 15,000 participants, is obviously an enormous potential boost for the city. There's lots of work ahead, I'm sure, in terms of logistics to see what works and what doesn't. But thank you very much for coming forward with the presentation, and thank you for being in council tonight.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.